Once again, the abortion industry is capitalizing on tragedy out of Georgia, blaming it on the Georgia heartbeat law. Let's talk about it.
Hi everyone, it's Marcy with Dear Jane. You may have seen headlines just over the last several hours and days, but we have to talk about a story coming out of my home state, Georgia. And the story is about a young woman named Adriana Smith. She was 30 years old. Back in February, she was having really bad headaches, so she went to the hospital to try to figure out what was going on. She's an RN at a different hospital in the Atlanta area, but she went to the hospital to try to get some help and was released with some medications. They didn't do any testing, no CT scans, any of that. They just gave her a medication and sent her home. Well, unfortunately, the next morning, her boyfriend noticed something was really wrong. She was gasping for air in her sleep, gargling. It was a very scary situation. So they ended up being taken to the hospital where she did work as an RN, and a CT scan did reveal multiple blood clots in her brain. But unfortunately, tragically, at that point, there was nothing the hospital could do for her because they had missed it the day before. And so they kind of missed the window where they would be able to treat it, is what it sounds like. That's the story. But that's not what you're going to hear, because the second part of the story, there are two really intense, tragic parts to the story. So that's the first part, is now she is brain dead, but she is being kept alive because she also is pregnant. And the headlines that you're seeing are that the Georgia heartbeat law means that the state is forcing Adriana's family to keep her alive, and it's torture. In this case, they need to be able to give her an abortion, all of these things. They're using this tragic story that we need to be able to acknowledge is heartbreaking for their own agenda. So and it is about the heartbeat law that is related, but they're kind of dismissing this first tragic part of the story. Now, the second part is she is pregnant, and Georgia's heartbeat law does ban abortion after 6 weeks. As I've been digging into this a little bit and trying to figure out, what's going on, has this ever happened before where they've had to keep someone alive who has been declared brain dead in order to save the life of the unborn child? And according to a government website, during one 30-year period, there were 30 recorded cases of brain dead pregnant women who were kept alive to bring their baby to term and delivery. Now, of those 30, only 12 of the babies lived past a month. And so people are jumping on that and saying, there's only a 40% chance the baby will live. He or she may have complications, physical disabilities, mental disabilities. We don't know basically what shape this they're saying fetus will be in once it's born. And what I want us to be able to do as people who affirm the sanctity and dignity of every human life is to be able to look past the sensationalization of stories like this and remember that at the heart of what we're talking about is an unborn living human being. And these are difficult things to wrestle with. It is tragic, and I'm sure it is so difficult for her family to have to watch her kept artificially alive on a ventilator. They haven't been able to have closure. They haven't, been able to fully mourn the fact that she passed. They haven't been able to process the tragic nature in which she unnecessarily passed. And at the same time, there's opportunity to be hopeful and excited about a new life being brought into the world. And I don't pretend that that's easy, but even the mother in the interview that I watched, the mother of this young lady said, it doesn't mean that we would have necessarily chosen abortion, but we think that we should have had that choice. And I think that's where we need to pause and reframe and say, and call abortion what it is. Because what she's really saying is we should have had the choice to also have this unborn child's life come to an end because my daughter's life is ending. Again, this is a tragic, tragic case, but we have to have a consistent pro-life ethic, and we have to start infusing that into our culture so that we begin to see the dignity and sanctity of every human life, born and unborn, and do what we can to save and protect those lives. We don't know the health of this baby when he or she will be born. I think I did read that it's a boy. We don't know what his life is gonna be like, but the unknown quality of his life does not mean that we should have the choice to prematurely end it because of the tragic circumstances surrounding his continued growth during pregnancy. So again, this is a difficult case, but we're not even allowed to contemplate the complexities of it when the only headlines and stories that we're seeing are ones clearly framed to push a pro-abortion narrative. And this is an opportunity for us to speak up and to present a different alternative that is life-affirming in the case of tragedy.